In this lesson today, we're going to work on parallel and perpendicular lines and finding the equations of lines that are parallel and perpendicular. So let's see here. First off, in your notes, it says that parallel lines are two distinct non-vertical lines are parallel if they have the same slope. Okay, all vertical lines are parallel. Well, what this is trying to tell you is anytime you have two equations, if the lines are parallel, you can't go off of what they just look like. It has to be looking at what their slope is. Their slope has to be the same. That's very important. So let me erase this for a second. The biggest thing is when two lines are parallel, they have to have the same slope. Okay, so right here, the example they give you is write an equation in slope-intercept form that passes through the line, and it's going to give you a point, and it's going to say it's parallel to this line right here. Okay, if the lines are parallel, that means they have the same slope. So see right here in this equation, it's in slope-intercept already, the slope is 2x. That means that it has a slope of 2. Okay, and you're going to replace the 2 for the m, and then you're going to use the point they give you. And this is the example they give you, which should follow along. We've already worked on writing equations of lines in point slope form. So let's look how we can apply this. In the first few examples we have, it says write an equation in slope-intercept line of the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to each graph to the graph of each equation. Remember, when lines are parallel, they have the same slope. So when I look here, I have this equation. That equation is y equals x minus 8. The slope is always the number that's in front of the x. Well, in this case, there's not a number there. Anytime there's not a number, that's a 1 because that means that there's 1x. So we're going to use m to be 1, and then we're going to use this point right here for x1 and y1. So we have 5, 1. So let's use our equation, our point slope equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, well, the m we already know. We found it up here. It's a 1. Now we have x1 and y1. So my x1 number goes here, which is 5. My y1 number goes here, which is 1. And it wants it in slope-intercept form. Well, first you put it into point slope. Now we can move it. You remember what we've done before? We multiply right here. We get y minus 1 equals 1 times x is 1x, or I'll just put x. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Now you need to add 1 to each side, and you get y equals x minus 4. This would be the equation of the line that is parallel to this one and goes through this point. Okay, why don't you take a second and try and do number 2 if you're understanding what we're doing. So for number 2, it's already in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4. So you're going to use this slope and this point. So let me go over here and write my point slope equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. M is that number, is that slope. This is right, which is right here, negative 1/2. Now my point, here's my x and my y. So my x, I'm going to erase my x, and instead I'm going to put in there negative, what is that, 8? Negative 8. Look carefully what I did. Y1, erase that, and I'm going to put a 7. Now, it says it has to be in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to have to multiply right here. I'm going to get y minus 7 equals negative 1/2 times x, negative 1/2 x, negative 1/2. Oh, wait, before I start, look, minus and negative, that changes these to positive. Now multiply. I'm sorry, negative 1/2 times positive 8 is negative 4. You're still not done. You have to get the y by itself. So I have to add 7 to each side. And I get, let me write it up here, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. This is the equation that goes through this point and is parallel to this line. All right, I'm going to move my paper over a little bit so that we have a little bit more room on number 3. Number 3, we have a few more steps because if you look, this is written in standard form. We need the slope and we need the point. So I need the slope so that I can find the parallel slope. So I'm going to have to put this one in slope-intercept. So you have 4x minus 3y equals negative 12. So we've got to solve for y here. We're going to subtract 4x from each side. I'm going to get negative 3y equals negative 4x minus 12. Divide by negative 3. These cancel to get 1. Y equals 4/3 x plus 4. But what we need out of that is this number right here because I need the slope because the new line is going to be parallel. So let me write let me do this. Let me write my equation, my point slope, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, get rid of the m because guess what? Here's my m, 4/3. Now my x1 is going to be negative 3, so I'm going to put a negative 3 right here. And my y1 is going to be a positive 3. And now I have to put it in slope-intercept form. Well, look right here. Remember, this is minus and negative, so this changes to positive. Then I can multiply. So I have y minus 3 equals 4/3 times x is 4/3 x. 4/3 times 3 is plus 4. You can just put that in the calculator. Add 3 to each side. Y equals 4/3 x plus 7. That should be your equation. Okay, it didn't give us much room to do some of these, but this next row shouldn't be too bad. Let me erase my board. Get some of the distraction out of the way. All right. Oh, my board. There we go. Why don't you take a minute, if I can get mine straight here, and try and pause the video, and I want you to try and do 4, 5, and 6. So right here, I need you to try and do 4, 5, and 6, if I can get this right. I'm going to start off by writing my point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, remember, I need a point and I need a slope, and it has to be the slope. It's going to be the same slope because it's parallel. Well, this y equals 4x minus 2. That is already in slope-intercept form, so there's my slope. Okay, so it gives me my m and my x1 and y1. So let me rewrite this. Y minus equals blank. Oh, wait, I'll just erase them because there's not enough room. The m, let me get rid of the m. The m is going to be 4. X1 up there, it says minus 2. Y1, erase that, and I get positive 2. Now I'm supposed to put it in slope-intercept form. So remember, first, is there anything we change with the like two negatives? Yes. These, a negative and negative goes to positive. So then I'm going to do the distributive property. So I get y minus 2 equals 4x plus 8. Then I'm going to add 2 to each side. And I get y equals 4x plus 10. This should have been your equation. Number 5. I'm going to start off here with y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay. I see right here I've got x1 and y1. This is in slope-intercept form, so here is my slope. That is my m. So let's plug in what we have. My m is going to be 1/3. My x1 is going to be 6. My y1 is going to be 4. Now it's said to put it in slope-intercept form, so I need to do the multiplying now. So I'm going to multiply right here. I get y minus 4 equals 1/3 x, and 1/3 times -6 or -6 is -2. Then I'm going to add 4 to each side. I have to write this up above for the final answer. I'm going to get y equals, these cancel, 1/3 x plus 2. This is my equation. Hopefully by now, if you haven't done number 6, you can pause it now and do it. Okay, so now on number 6, again, let me write my point slope equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, well, x1 and y1, it's already in slope-intercept form. There's your slope. So if I go here and erase my m, I get -2. X1 is 4. Y1 is -2. -2. Look right here. It has minus and negative, so it's got to change to positive. Okay? So I know I'm going to have y plus 2 equals. Now you got to multiply and do the distributive property. I get -2x plus 8. Sorry, guys, I have something in my throat. Now what do you do to get y by itself? Yeah, you need to get rid of that 2. Excuse me. You need to subtract 2 from each side. And I get y equals -2x plus 6. That should have been what you got for your answer. Try and do number 7. Point slope form. All right, let me erase the ones above it. I've got x1 and y1. And then right here is my slope. So as I go to put that in, I'm going to erase this. Oh, come on. There we go. Put -3 in there for my slope. X1, this goes away. And my X1 is -2. My Y1 is 4. Now, Do you have any minus and negatives? Yes, we do. Right here, they changed to positive. Now I can go and do the distributive property. Y minus 4 equals negative 3x minus 6. Add 4 to each side. Y equals negative 3x minus 2. That will be your final answer. Now, number 8 and number 9, we have to do a few more steps before we can get our answer. We have our point. We have the x1 and the y1. But look at this equation right here. It is not written in slope-intercept form. So, first thing we need to do is get in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write this over here. I'm going to subtract 3x from each side. These cancel, and I'll get y equals negative 3x plus 12. Well, that negative 3 right there, there's your slope. So now I can write it because I have my slope and I have my point. Remember, we're using the same slope because they are parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. So here, I'm going to erase the m and I'm going to put the negative 3 because that's my slope. My x1 is negative 1. My y1 right here is 6. So now minus a negative, make that a little bigger, changes that to positive. And then I need to multiply. So I have y minus 6 equals negative 3x minus 3. I need to add 6 to each side. And I'm going to get y equals negative 3x plus 3. This is the equation of a line that is parallel to this one and goes through this point. That's what we're doing. So on number 9, pause this and see if you can do it yourself. First thing we need to do is get y by itself so we can put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract x from each side. I get 2y equals negative x plus 5. Then I have to divide by 2. These cancel, and I get y equals. Now, negative x divided by 2. There's really a 1 up there. So it is, let's see here, negative 1/2 x plus 5 over 2. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5 over 2. That funky y-intercept doesn't really matter. The only thing we're trying to do is get the slope. Because remember, we need the slope because the lines are parallel. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Erase the m. That is negative 1/2. X1, that's your 4. Y1 is your negative 6. Okay, once you plug that in, look for any minus and negatives to change those. Yep, right here, this changes to positive. So I get y plus 6 equals, multiply here. I get negative 1/2 x plus 2. Then move the 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from each side. And I get y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4. This is your equation. I make my board a little smaller here so that I can do the next ones. Actually, we're just going to do one of these down here below. board. Let me try and get this situated. Here we go. All right, we're just going to look at number 10 on this one. It says find the equation of a line that has a y-intercept of 2 and is parallel to this equation here. Okay, y-intercept. If it's giving me a y-intercept and a line that's parallel, I'm going to be able to use the equation y equals mx plus b. If that's the case, I have to just find the m for the slope of the parallel line. So let me take that equation, 4x plus 2y equals 8. Let's find the slope. Subtract 4x from each side. I get 2y equals negative 4x plus 8. Then I will divide by 2. I get y equals negative 2x plus 4. You did all of that so that you could find this right here, so that you could find that slope. So now I'm going to use the y-intercept and this slope to write my equation. It should be y equals negative 2x plus 2. This would be the equation of a line that is parallel to this line and has a y-intercept of 2. Now, these were all equations when lines were parallel. That means that they do not intersect. But what happens now when we have to find the equations of a lines that are perpendicular? Okay, perpendicular lines are two non-vertical lines if their slopes have opposite reciprocals from each other. Okay, vertical and horizontal lines are perpendicular. Here's what it means when it's talking about opposite reciprocals. Okay, if I tell you that I have a slope that is 2/3, and I want the slope that is perpendicular. This is the symbol they use for perpendicular. Opposite reciprocals. I kind of say sometimes the flipping opposite. So you will flip your fraction over, do it 3/2, and instead of positive, it becomes negative. This would be your new slope. If I had negative 1/3 and I want the perpendicular slope, flip it over so it becomes 3/1. Instead of negative, it goes to positive, and then 3 divided by 1 is 3. Another example, say I just had the number 4 and I want the perpendicular slope. You say, when I say flip it over, people go, well, wait, that's only one number. How do you flip it over? Remember, any whole number can always be written over 1. So when you flip it over, it becomes 1/4. So that's the flipping, and then opposite, instead of positive, it would be negative, and this would be your new slope. So let's try and do that with the same way we were doing the other ones. We just have to know what the slope's supposed to be when it's perpendicular. So these up here, if I start with number 1, okay? Right here, my slope is the number in front of this x. If there's not a number, remember that's a 1. It means a 1x. Well, how do I make that into a fraction? You put it over 1, and then it is positive, so you have to make it negative. So my new slope I'm going to use, the perpendicular slope, is going to be -1, and I'm going to use this point. So I'm going to have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. My new slope is going to be -1. My x1 point right here is going to be 5. My y1 point is going to be 1. Now, are there any minus and negatives? Nope. So now I can do the distributive property. So I'm going to get y minus 1 equals -1x, or negative x, plus 5. Still not done. I need to add 1 to each side. And I get y equals -x plus 6. This is your new equation. All right. Number 2. There's your slope. Here's your point. Now, it can't be the same slope. Remember, it's got to be the flipping opposite reciprocal. So my new slope, instead of, okay, so right now it's -1/2. So flip it over, it becomes 2/1, and instead of negative, it's positive. When you divide the two numbers, you get 2. This is your slope, here is your point. So I'm going to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, erase the m. Oh, maybe. My new slope is 2. My x1 is supposed to be, what is that, -8? And my y1 is supposed to be 7. Well, always look, is there a minus and negative? Yes, so I'm going to change that to positive. Now I can do the distributive property. So I get y minus 7 equals 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 8 is 16. I'm going to add 7 to each side. I get y equals, these cancel, 2x plus 23. This would be the line that is perpendicular to this one and goes through this point. All right, we're not going to do number 3. Let's skip down here. Let me erase this. All right. All right, let's look at number 4. The first thing, let's do this for 4, 5, and 6. Let's do this. So for 4, 5, and 6, let's just find the slope of the perpendicular line. Let's just find the slope of the perpendicular line. So for number 4, it's 1/2. Okay, that's the original slope. So the original one is 1/2. How do I get it to be the perpendicular one? The flipping opposite. Flip it over, 2/1, and instead of positive, it becomes negative. So my new slope is -2. That's going to be for this problem down here. Try and do number 5 and 6. So on number 5, instead of -2/3, I'm going to flip it over. So it's 3/2. Instead of negative, it's going to be positive. There's my new slope. So I'm going to use this slope and this point. Number 6, the slope is 7 that they're giving us. And we're doing this because it's in slope-intercept form, so I know what the slope is. When it's a whole number, you're going to put it over 1. Now to find the perpendicular one, flip it over. 1/7. Instead of positive, it becomes negative. This will be your slope. Okay, so now for 4, 5, and 6, pause this, and I want you to go in and find the equation in slope-intercept form. We already found the perpendicular slope, and you have a point. So now use point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. M, oh, erase it, there we go. M is what we found to be -2. So I'm going to put -2 here. X1 is 4. Y1 is 2. All right, are there any minus and negatives? Nope. So the next thing we have to do is the distributive property. Y minus 2 equals -2x plus 8. Then add 2 to each side. So my new equation is y equals -2x plus 10. That's what you should have gotten. On number 5, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We already found our new slope. The perpendicular slope is 3/2. Then put in your x number, which is +2, and your y number, which is -3. Now, are there any minus and negatives? Yes, so these change to positive. Y plus 3 equals 3/2 times x. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Hold on, I'm right, don't have enough room. So I change that to +3, then do the distributive property. So I get 3/2 x, and then 3/2 times -2 is -3. Subtract 3 from each side. These cancel. Y equals 3/2 x minus 6. This is your new equation. Okay, let me move this over a little bit. For number 6, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, m, the perpendicular slope, what we have boxed in right here, -1/7. This equation, this isn't going to be very nice. The x number is going to be 6, and the y number is going to be 4. We're going to leave it in point slope form because it's not a very nice equation, and that's not really what we need to do and worry about right now. Okay, so let me go here. Let me do this, and I need you right now to go through, and I need you to try and do 7, 8, and 9. I'll move my board here. You pause the video and do 7, 8, and 9. So find the slope of the perpendicular line, and then put it into point slope form, and then put it into slope-intercept. All right, so number 7. When you look at number 7, here is the slope right now. Okay, so that is -1. Whenever it is a whole number, you put it over 1. Now, to find the perpendicular one, flip it over. Well, it's still 1/1, but instead of positive or negative, it becomes positive. So it's a +1. So now let's put it into point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, m right here, here's my new slope, is a +1. My x1 is a -8. My y1 is a -7. Now look, I've got minus and negatives. They change to positive. So the first part here is y plus 7 equals 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 8 is 8. Then we subtract 7 from each side. We get y equals x plus 1. The line that is perpendicular to this line and goes through this point. All right, 2 more. Here we go. Number 8. The slope, it's already in slope-intercept form. Here's -3. So it's -3/1. To find the perpendicular slope, you flip it over so it becomes 1/3. And instead of negative, it becomes positive. So there's my new slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, my m, I'm going to erase that. I'm going to put 1/3. My x1 is going to be 6. My y1 is -2. Are there any minus and negatives? Yep, right here, change them to positive. So I get y plus 2 equals 1/3 times x, 1/3 x. 1/3 times -6 is -2. Still not done. You got to move that 2 to the other side. So I subtract 2 from each side. These cancel, and I get y equals 1/3 x minus 4. This is what you should have gotten. Okay, I'll move my board over for the last one. It is in slope-intercept form, so there's the slope, but I need to rearrange it. So I've got 5/2. The flip in opposite. Flip it over to 2/5, and instead of positive, it's negative. This is now my new slope that I need. So I have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. My slope, -2/5. My x1 is going to be -5. My y1 is going to be -1. Do you have any minus and negatives? Yes, I do, right here. They change to positive. So this becomes y plus 1 equals -2/5 times x, -2/5 x, -2/5 times 5 is -2. I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. You should have gotten y equals -2/5 x minus 3. This is your equation that is perpendicular to this line and goes through this point.